to bring in my guy who is joining us from work, but he's able to get on. My guy, Nathan Snell. What up, Nate?
Hey.
What's going on, fellas?
Good to see you, sir.
Today, man?
How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Now, real quick, Dave, I'm going to come to you. Last week, you guys asked us a lot of questions. So, Dave, I want you to just – how did we do last week?
We did pretty well. Both Ryan Hayes and Bambo brought the David Johnson, Philip Lindsay question to us. Sid and I both took a hard pass on that. David Johnson put up 1.3, Philip Lindsay 0.8. So points to us on that. If you did see Rex Burkhead coming at the 13.8, good for you. Serviceable waiver pickup if you were missing somebody. Lazo asked us to sit one of these four receivers: Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, and Calvin Ridley. Sid and I both pounced on Ridley, and we all know what happened. So more points for Sid and I. Ryan Hayes jumped in again, asking if we liked Ertz or Goddard to start that week. And both Sid and I took Ertz. Sean took Goddard. Point to Sean.
Yeah.
Ryan Hayes actually came in with his bold prediction of the week. And hey, if you're out there, Ryan, shout out to you, man. You gave us a bunch of good stuff last week. Yeah. But Ryan came out with the prediction that Detroit would defeat Philadelphia. Sid and I both jumped in, absolutely agreeing.
Yeah.
Said it with our chest.
Right. Hey, hold up, Dave. Everybody that's on this show agreed. All right, Nathan Snell agreed with us on our other show, so we all agreed, and we all ate crow.
So Ryan, welcome to the program. You got your first loss, along with all of us. Right. Bossman Fat asked who to start between Cole Beasley and Melvin Gordon. Sid and Sean both took Beasley. I took Melvin Gordon. They edged me out on that, but at 19 points, Melvin was a viable starter. He just got edged out by Beasley's 26. LeBron's Brain asked if he should trade Pittman for Brandon Cooks. Both Sid and I urged you not to do so. We really like Pittman, who put up 30.6 to Cooks 20.3. Ryan Hayes asked us about Seattle versus Jacksonville. Both Ryan and I leaned Jacksonville on that. Sid was leaning Seattle, so another point for Sid. And again, appreciate you, Ryan. All right, what do we got this week, sir?
Definitely appreciate you. So we're gonna come with your fan questions, and we have our guy here, Nathan, who's gonna definitely be asking some of the questions. I'm gonna get to you in just a second. We do have a couple questions from the crowd. Oyul, I hope that's how you pronounce it. He said Damian Harris or Eli Mitchell, full PPR league?
That's a good one. It's a good question. I'm going to look at their matchups real quick.
Yeah.
I think I lean Elijah Mitchell here. Let me double check. All right. So the Niners got the Bears. Oh, no, that's who they played this week. Let me get to next week.
Who's the first player?
Damian Harris,
running back for the Patriots, or Elijah Mitchell, running back for the Niners. Niners play the Cardinals, and Patriots play the Panthers. Panthers have had a decent defense early on, but they've struggled as of late. I like the Cardinals' defense, but they got 8 up by the Packers. I'm going to go Elijah Mitchell this week. Because I think J.J. Watt is a huge missing piece in the Cardinals defense, and they saw it last week with the rushing from A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. I like Damian Harris's matchup, so I don't think you can go wrong here, but I would go Elijah Mitchell.
Elijah Mitchell's playing Arizona?
Yeah, I think my main reason for that is Damian Harris does still give up touches to Ramondre Stevenson and Brandon Bolden, where Elijah Mitchell doesn't as much, and I think that's why I'm going Elijah Mitchell.
I can see that.
I think Arizona is going to be really pissed off this week. I'm definitely going to lean Damian Harris on that just because we know Bill Belichick loves to run the football. He loves possession-oriented football. So I think, like Sid said, you can't go wrong either way, but I'm going with the coach who likes to run the ball.
Yeah. I agree. I echo both of your sentiments. You can't go wrong. I would go Mitchell myself because of kind of similar to what you were talking about, Sid. Watt's out, and this is a divisional matchup, and those always are close. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't they play before? Was it like 17-10?
Yes, it was 17-10. That was the actual score. Yep.
So a close game. We absolutely know that, Shanahan loves running the ball. So I think it's going to be more that – and the only edge I give to Mitchell over Damian Harris is, like you were talking about, Damian Harris has to share carries with the other two guys. Mitchell's going to be the only guy, and I think they're going to be very run heavy this week. But at the end of the day, if I had Damian Harris and not Mitchell, I would still be fine. Like I think so. All right, one more question that we got from you guys. I was offered Antonio Brown for James Conner in a full PPR. My other receivers are Robert Woods, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Thomas, and Allen Robinson. My running backs are Eckler, Henderson, Gaskin, and Chris Carson. Thoughts and thanks. So he was offered Antonio Brown for James Conner in a full PPR.
Yes.
I was going to say, I think this is the first trade questions we've got that I like it. Yeah, I think I would do that. James Conner seems to be very touchdown dependent. He's got 8 through the season already, which isn't bad because he's getting them. But I think if he doesn't carry that on, he's going to fall off pretty heavily, especially because he's not used nearly as much in the passing game as Chase Edmonds is. I like your running backs with Eckler, Henderson. Chris Carson comes back. He's going to be another great starter, so I think you're good there. Gaskins has come along since his rocky start, and I think Antonio Brown is honestly an upgrade over everybody. Maybe Robert Woods is close, but I like him more than Jeudy, Michael Thomas, and Allen Robinson. So I think it's a big upgrade there, and you don't lose a lot in your running back room.
Yeah,
absolutely. We've talked about AB numerous weeks. When you have a dynamic player whose quarterback always looks for him, even with all the mouths to feed over there, I don't think you can pass that up. You're balanced across both the wide receiver and running back rooms, and it's an upgrade. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I gotta agree. Honestly, with the names on that list of receiver, I think you bring Antonio Brown in and start him right away. I mean, Robert Woods, is great and they're passing a lot, but obviously we've seen Cooper Kupp is getting the bulk of the receptions in that one. Judy's still getting his feet under him. We know about Michael Thomas, and Nathan, you can attest to this. Allen Robinson is just he ain't on the same page with the quarterback this year. He ain't with it. Your running backs, Henderson's been showing up recently. Eckler, obviously, and Gaskin, like you say, is he seems to get it done regardless of what happens. He seems to continue to get it done week in and week out. Carson, when he gets back, I think is good. So I definitely go Antonio Brown. I was one of those that definitely jumped on Connor a couple weeks ago, and it has been either hit or miss. So yeah, I like the trade. I like it for sure. Yo, we got our guy in here, Nathan Snell. Oh, Trey. No doubt, buddy. No doubt. Hey, every week, the next couple weeks is going to be Tuesday, right, Dave?
Yes,
Tuesday
sir.
At 6. Yeah, next couple weeks is going to be Tuesday at 6, Trey. But for the most part, we're on Wednesdays at 6. Come in here, join us, hit us up with your questions, man. We'll try to do the best job we can answering them. And then next week, come back and we'll, you can tell us how you did. We'll tell you, what we think or what happened, what was our picks on it. So, got to bring in my guy, man. Got to bring in the host of Big Nate Talk Podcast, one Nathan under Snell, like my guy Nick Rosario says. Yo, Nathan, man, what's going on, man? This is your first year doing fantasy. You got one team. How's it going, man?
So far, so good. We're 500 on the year so far. The bye week and a couple injuries. I think the biggest blow was Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
My first question is, who should I replace him with, and also to Kareem Hunt. I don't have running back now.
So I think.
What was the question?
So he's lost both Derrick Henry and Kareem Hunt being on IR. Who does he replace them with?
Gotcha.
I think you go. I think long term. I'm making a bold statement here, but I'm going Adrian Peterson over McNichols long term. If you're looking for just a week fill-in, McNichols just this week, but I think Adrian Peterson is going to produce more than McNichols in the long run. Adrian Peterson he was in a couple bad offenses in Detroit and Washington. No offense.
Yep. No, it's true. You're right.
But I think he still got it. He didn't look bad in those offenses. So I think the Titans are a very run-heavy team. They have a great line, so I think he'll produce and would be the viable guy going forward.
If you guys can see on the screen, I put up his team.
Let's scroll down to the bench.
Yeah. Lamar, Gallagher.
As for
Kareem
Kareem
also
Hunt,
too, in the league that I'm in, it's an 8-man league, and there's people that are not liking trades.
Okay, real quick, Dave. The other thing about this league is they had it's a 2 tight end. You have to start 2 tight ends in the league.
Gotcha.
So that made things a lot different in coming up. But go ahead. Sorry about that.
For me, I mean, even in an 8-team league, you're not replacing Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb off of waivers. You're just not. At that point, to be able to replace that production, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to make a move. You're going to have to talk to somebody in your league, find somebody who needs what you still have, and make a move for a viable running back, because the two of them that you can't find that production off the waiver wire. One of them maybe to be able to just slow the bleeding, but at that point, man, I'm definitely looking to make a trade.
Yeah, the league I'm in, where no one, I put in like 5 trade offers, and
did you offer me a trade? Because I got a couple guys that I might send your way. I mean, I like what you got going on over here. That Cooper Kupp looks pretty nice, man. If you want to, let him go.
No, Cooper Kupp's staying. I'm willing to trade.
And just ignore those people like Sean, who when you start out the trade, they just go straight after your top guy.
Right. Look, I'll trade. Look, I'll trade you Chris Carson for Cooper Kupp.
That happened. Another guy on the aisle.
Right. Oh man, yeah. Have you offered me a trade, Nathan, in this other league?
No, I've offered who was it? Will
Cutthroat,
Cam
Cutthroat.
I offered up Justin Herbert for Kyler Murray, and no one accepted it. So
who did you say that again?
I offered up Justin Herbert for Kyler Murray, and no one accepted it.
That's funny. If I'd been in your league and I had Kyler Murray, I would have accepted that trade probably.
Right.
I've just been scared of Kyler Murray all year. Like, he's balling out. He puts up great numbers. For such a young quarterback, he's been phenomenal in the fourth quarter. I had him last year. He just slow play the whole game. But I think Justin Herbert, he's the dude.
Right. Yeah, no, it's just – also, too, I think the biggest mistake, okay, as a novice, like, I drafted 3 defenses. Was that smart?
Well, that's another thing. Look, you can still get rid of one of those defenses, if not 2, depending on bye weeks. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think I would let go of the Niners defense. I don't think they are who they are known as. That Niners defense is not relentless like they used to be. I like the Buffalo defense. I like the Rams defense. I personally only roll with one defense. I'm in 6 leagues. I stream a defense usually every week, unless I come across somebody like the Cowboys early on who are just getting me interceptions every week. So I just kept rolling with them. But yeah, generally I'm a 1 defense guy. I try and keep my bench as deep as possible. Even looks like you have Lamar and Derek Carr. We talked about this last week with Derek Carr. Somebody asked if they should keep Herbert. It might have been you.
That was him.
Herbert.
Yeah, it was it.
That was Nick.
Yeah. So I think you could drop Carr. I think you have 2 kickers. I think you could drop the kicker, second kicker, just roll with one. That's all positions on your bench that should be running backs and receivers specifically for this scenario when you lose your top guy.
But
so
that's the thing. I don't have any. There's no in our league. No one's willing to trade.
Look, you have not offered me a trade. I am in this league. I'm already telling you right now. I'll take Carr off your hands. And matter of fact, I mean, I'll take a couple of these guys off your hands. Look, why don't you?
You're not touching Cooper Cup.
Look,
Nathan.
Look, we can talk about it after the show.
Back to what Sid was saying about defenses and kickers. Defense, I draft a defense. This was the first year that I actually dropped the Baltimore defense 2 weeks ago. I am running an empty slot in defense every single week because I'm not letting go any of the position players. I've won both weeks. Defenses are they're a double-edged sword. Now they're not going to give you a lot of points most of the time, so it's pretty negligible where they can cost you points.
Mm-hmm.
They constantly go negative. The Baltimore defense went -6 points on me. I dropped them, and I haven't looked back. I did try and pick up the Chicago defense, but somebody else got it. And at that point, I'm like, I'm not going to stress over the 6-7 points. I'm going to pick up a position player for 2 reasons. 1, because it gives me depth, and 2, it keeps that position player from being picked up by somebody else, even if I don't start him that week. So I'm definitely with Sid on the defense. He streams them every week. I've got the Buffalo defense in one league, and I had the Baltimore defense in the other league. One is working out great, the other isn't. So now I'm just running empty slot. I'm not even streaming.
Okay, so I should drop San Francisco and try to find a receiver or a running back.
Look, so, I told you, I'll trade with you, buddy.
Go on, Dave. You send that San Francisco defense over to Sean.
Here's the thing, Nathan. I would honestly, if I were you, this is the reason you only take one defense and one kicker, and even just one backup quarterback. You don't usually need 2. First, David, be glad you didn't take Chicago. They were -6 points this week. Anyway, back to this because I'm the one that got them. Anyway, you keep those spots empty on your bench because you have stashed running backs, receivers. I mean, Derrick Henry's backup. Whoever your other running back is, backup. That way, when they do go down, you're not the one just hoping you get the waiver pickup to get them because you already have their backup.
Bless you.
So that's the point. When you're stashing 3 defenses, 2 kickers, and 3 quarterbacks, you're taking up 4 spots on your bench that could be people that go in way more often when they get hurt. Then, I mean, you're never gonna need 2 kickers. If a kicker gets hurt, you can easily pick up another kicker. Nobody has like multiple kickers where you can't find one. 2 quarterbacks, I completely understand because if one goes down, you definitely want another guy. That's perfectly fine. I don't have 2 quarterbacks in a lot of leagues. If I have a guy, he's my guy, and I don't need a backup unless he goes down. Then I'll figure it out from there. But my bench is 90% running backs and receivers because they get hurt so often and they're interchangeable going forward. So you just need to play the waivers, constantly look at who's available, and get. I think I listed 5 running backs this week, 3 receivers. Those are the guys every week. There's people that are available to pick up because of injuries. Those are constantly pick them up, and that's how you end up with like Dearness Johnson last week, or if you would have got Chuba Hubbard when Christian McCaffrey went down. Like those are the backups that come alive during the week.
Darrell Williams.
He was.
I drafted CEH in both leagues, and in both leagues I drafted Darrell Williams.
Right.
I drafted CMC with the pick in the Let's Talk Football League, and I drafted Chuba Hubbard, who I very stupidly let go after week 1 because I needed the roster spot. I'm like, hey, it's week 1. We're fine. I'll go get him later. Didn't get him back.
And so that's why you don't need to keep the backup defenses and the backup kickers because you want other running backs and receivers for when inevitably your guys go down. Nobody ever has the same team they drafted all the way through fantasy. People get hurt all the time, or they just don't produce, like Robbie Anderson or something like that. So you always want to keep a plethora of running backs and receivers, and not so much defenses and kickers.
Right. When I did when we did the draft, I had everything kind of planned out, and then like after the second round, it was like, oh, okay. Like I think like the first two, someone had the first two picks, and they were tight ends, and it was like, okay.
So. No, it was they had the last pick of the first round, first pick of the second round. Right. Yeah, and our league was a 2 tight end league. Like you start 2 tight ends, so they were like, "Oh, let's pick this up and get ahead of it." And it was kind of like it just made it weird. Somebody picked up Pat Mahomes in the second. Josh Allen was picked up at like the second round or something like that.
In leagues like that, I get really excited because I draft a ton of running backs and receivers. So to give you an example, one of my leagues, I'm in a 12-team league, and my running backs currently are Zeke, I got in the first round, Najee Harris, I got in the second round, James Robinson, I got in the third round, and then I still went running back. I got DeAndre Swift in the fourth round.
Yeah.
And now James Robinson's hurt, and I still have 3 of the top 10 running backs in the whole league, in a 12-team league, because everybody else is going tight ends or quarterbacks, whereas for example, that league, I'm just going to give you exactly who I have, so I'm not lying. Tight end wise, I picked up Dalton Schultz. Wasn't drafted because I went running back heavy, so I didn't have a lot of choices when it came to tight ends and quarterbacks late because everybody was taking them early. Right. I was stashing on running backs. Playing fantasy for so long, you learn running backs get hurt. Yeah. They don't produce. You need a lot of running backs. So I went super heavy there. And then quarterbacks, like I have Ryan Tannehill, very serviceable. He gets me 18 to 20. But because I'm so stacked at running back, and if somebody gets hurt, I have very fill-inable guys. I've been sustainable in that league. But that's just an example of you got to stick to, you got to make a game plan of how you want to draft, whether it's like running back, or running back, receiver, running back. And don't worry about what everybody else does. Just stick to your game plan. If they want to go off the script and you can get somebody late, that's perfect. But yeah, I definitely know the first time you draft and you see somebody else going tight end, you're like, oh shoot, I need to get a tight end now.
I gotta do that, right?
Type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the third round, I think Kelsey, Waller, Kettle, Andrews,
and they're all gone. Right. So then at that point, so that's my thing. Is at that point, so those are the guys. Your next guy, like the 5th tight end and the 15th tight end, are the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're all interchangeable. So who cares if you get the 5th guy if you're going to get the 10th guy and they're going to be the same person?
I have running back on the bench, but he fractured his hand. I think.
Who?
Dawson Knox for the Bills.
Knox.
Yeah.
So I feel
was doing good.
He's a guy I could cut. What should I do about Kenny Galladay? Because he's not producing. He's only averaging 10 points. And
I think he's a droppable player too.
We've talked about that a couple times now, I think.
Here, go to the players available in this one real quick, Sean. Just to get, this is a great example of what to see. So go to add player. Let's see who's on waivers right now.
I saw a couple
in this league. And just go to the running backs.
I do want to touch on what Sid was just saying, though, about the draft and how important it is to have your plan going in and know which of your guys you're willing to adjust your strategy for. Like you were saying with the tight ends, if the next tight end up isn't worth sacrificing your draft strategy for, then don't do it. Just stay true to what you're doing. But you also have to be able to completely change your draft strategy based on what other people are doing. I'm very running back heavy, just like Sid. Sid and my brother Dylan, they taught me a lot of what I know about fantasy. I love running backs. However, in the Jerry World League, I reached for Kyle Pitts. I know that I was going to miss out on, a top 10 receiver, but receivers were so deep, I knew that I could make that up down the road. Now you skip that wide receiver 1 and you might end up with a couple wide receiver 2s. Then you jump everybody on every position. Then you go for, the best tight end available, and then that's when people start grabbing defenses too early and whatnot. If you miss one position, you can always get ahead of the rest of the positions.
Right.
But you have to know what your plan is and what players you're going to reach for.
True. Because like I did it like, okay, I'd like say, okay, here's my quarterbacks, tight ends, and as everyone was going, I was like, okay, like 1B, 1C. I mean, it worked, but like I said, like with the 2 tight end league, yeah, that was a little difficult. So my first pick was Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And then I had Mike Davis, and he wasn't getting like, I think he was getting like 4 points. And I saw Cordero Patterson. I was like, okay, let me drop him and pick him up.
Yep.
So
that's a good call. And so, like, see, but the thing is I would have kept Mike Davis and dropped one of your defenses and just kept Mike Davis on the roster. That way, if something happens to Cordero, you got Mike Davis there and you don't got to fight for him on waivers. So, like, just for an example, just going through this list of who's available for you. Scroll back up a little bit, Sean. I'd pick up Myles Gaskin, Michael Carter, Kenyon Drake. Those 3, I think you could start right away, now.
Can I drop Kareem? Can I move Derrick Henry to IR and drop Kareem Hunt?
I would.
How long is he supposed to be out?
Derrick Henry, I think, is done for the season. So
No.
Kareem. Oh, Kareem's I think was only like a 3 or 4 week injury, so he should be coming back. I wouldn't drop Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
I would
just
keep
like
him in the IR slot.
David Montgomery is available in this league, and we're getting closer to when he's supposed to come back.
Right. So I wouldn't worry about dropping like Kareem Hunt. I would drop your backup defenses, your backup kicker, maybe even Derek Carr if you can stack up on like I would honestly try and pick up 3-4 of these running backs and figure out going forward which one is going to be the best week to week. But you don't want to you only get one of these guys and that's the one that misses where you could have had 4 of these guys because I'm only saying that because you can drop. I would drop 2 defenses and a kicker, and Derek Carr. That's 4 spots right there. You still keep everybody, and actually you could drop Derrick Henry if you want to keep 2 defenses or whatnot, because Derrick Henry's not going to play the rest of the year, so you don't need to keep him.
And what I love about that, the shotgun approach right here, is that it could allow you to make the same move I made last week, which was picking up David Montgomery because somebody had to drop him. Now, if you pick up 4 running backs, you're not going to start them all this week. You have a couple weeks to be able to wait and see how this thing shakes out, and you could wind up with a solid starting running back 3 weeks down the road.
Yeah. You got Mark Ingram here. He's still available. AP down here. He's available. Carlos Hyde. A lot of these guys are the guys that Sid and David mentioned earlier. Ty Johnson down here. You know what I mean? Like, so you can
Michael
definitely.
Carter's out there though, right?
Yeah, he's out there, but he's wavered. So I don't know who might have picked him up.
Everybody's wavered today because it's Tuesday. So
Yeah, we usually do the show the day after waivers, but it goes through at like 1 a.m. my time tonight.
Yeah. So Michael Carter, yeah. So scroll through that, and I may or may not be scrolling through it myself on my phone. So anybody that's not there, sorry, bro. But Nathan,
Sean's about to go pick all these guys up, and then I'll do a trade.
But Nathan, look, let's work on this trade, man. Let's talk. Have your people call my people, baby. Let's do it.
You got to be careful with these guys, Nate. Last week, I'm over here telling them about how Russell Wilson's on waivers. If you go watch that episode again, you can see Sydney in the middle of the show grab his phone and go pick up Russell Wilson. Can't tell these guys nothing.
I did. Telling you, man. Telling you. See, hey, look, and Nate, next show, we'll tell you about the art of the game. You know, David talked about, he picked somebody up. I'm not going to start him. I'm just going to stash him because if I have him, I know somebody else does not have him. So we got to work on that. We got to get. You got any more questions for us, man?
I got a couple more questions. So, like, for example, like I'm trying to claim Devontae Parker, and it's saying that it won't let me add him.
So it's still a waiver. So you're still on waiver. So every Tuesday, anybody that's not on a team is available for a waiver pickup. Now, every team in the league has a chance to put in a waiver claim to get them. Now, your league has some sort of waiver system to where it decides the order of the waivers. And if somebody above you on the waiver order puts in that same waiver, they get that player and you don't. Now, this doesn't go until tomorrow, but you can put in multiple waivers and find out tomorrow who you actually got. But, yeah, so you won't be able to pick up anybody.
We could probably
today,
do a whole show on waiver strategy and how to
How that
stack the waivers
Right.
and whatnot. But say you only have one player that you want to drop, and you find 3 players you want to pick up. Rank those players and put in a waiver claim with the one player you want to drop for all 3 of those guys, and then adjust it so that it goes in the order you want. You know, if let's just say if you wanted Michael Carter, McNichols, and Montgomery in that order, you know, you take the San Francisco defense, you put in the claim for Michael Carter for the San Francisco defense. If somebody else above you steals Michael Carter, you also have the San Francisco defense in for the other 2 to pick up. If you get the first one, great, it's over. You got your guy, but to stack it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Nathan, if you look at the screen, speaking of the waiver order, this is our waiver order in that league. So you got Delilah first, Nick 2, I'm 3, Janae is 4, and you're 5, Will 6, Ab 7, and Cameron is 8. So you know now that you're down at number 5, you might not get the top guys that you're looking at. That's why we're saying, like, dive deep into it and definitely go back and watch the segment previously about waiver wire and start looking and put multiple claims in. Don't put one claim in and just put everything on that, because the minute he gets taken, now you're like, where do I go from here? So this is where you lean on a lot of what I call the football nerddom. You know what I mean? Let's go through, let's comb through these guys, let's look through. You got to click on them and read the recent news, whatever, what have you. But definitely get into this. This is what all this stuff we watch all of this and we study it and we're paying attention to it. So this is normal stuff. But it's just essentially do your homework. You know what I mean? When you have this type of stuff, now you know kind of the waiver wire and how we can get that thing going. Now you start, okay, who do I got? Who are my 1, 2, 3? Just like when you did the draft. You know who your number 1 pick is, but if I don't get him, who are my next 2, 3? So when I come up, I can go right to the next guy. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you, fellas.
Nice.
My last question is, okay, so for someone that's a novice when it comes to fantasy football, how many leagues should a novice generally have?
I think any more than 2 is excessive for somebody just starting. I think 1 or 2 is perfectly fine when you're just starting. The only reason I would lean 2 is just because it might be nice to try 2 different strategies since you're just starting out. Have 2 different draft strategies, have 2 different ways of playing it, keeping that depth. That maybe this would be like a learning experience if you kept your defenses and kickers and quarterbacks deep on your bench on the one, but on the other one you just rode running backs and receivers, and you could see the difference on how that plays out through the year. That's a good way to go about it. Also, the benefit of having 2 is if your team just gets riddled with injuries or you're not doing good, it's always nice because the other one you'll probably have different players and you can kind of go about that and might be a lot better. But any more than that when you're first starting is a lot. It's a lot to follow and a lot to handle because you're messing with. You probably honestly, I'm in 6 leagues, so I pretty much have every player. There's not really that many players I don't have on at least one of my teams. So you kind of just play with it that way. But yeah, I think 1 or 2 is the way to go. I don't think
he plays fantasy like he bets on sports. If you bet on everything, you're gonna win.
Yeah, eventually.
As long as football's played, I'm gonna win something.
That's the way to look at it. Yes. Yep. Throw money everywhere. Something's gonna win. Something's gonna
stick eventually.
I love it. Let's go.
Yeah, I completely agree with Sid on that last question, though. My first year, I only ran one team, and I really dove into the nuances of it. My brother Dylan was kind of my guide that year when I was just learning, and that one team, obviously stumbled and tripped my way through the year. Dylan actually had to draft for me in that league, so I didn't even do the draft the first league. But I learned so much in that first year that going forward from that, the multiple league option really made things fun. But I definitely wouldn't overwhelm yourself too soon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really quick, Sean, could you show my recent victory?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Nick, I love you.
Wow.
Who'd he play?
Nick.
Played Nick. Hold up.
I would love to see this.
Yeah. Let me share it real quick. Wow. Where are we at here? There it is. Oh, 13-point victory. It was 145-132. Wait till this pulls up. There we go. Ooh. You're second in that dirty division. I like that.
I just want to thank Travis Kelce for helping me get the win last night.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You survived.
All he needed was 20. He needed 19 points.
Yeah. You survived an A.J. Brown 44.5 performance. Dear God.
Well, I didn't realize Derek got hurt until someone texted me. He's like, "Yo, I think Derrick Henry's hurt," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And
Hey, as long as you got Cooper Kupp. I mean, well, actually, you know what, man? I've been doing some research, Nathan. Cooper's really not that good, man. Let me take him off your hands real quick. Let me help you out, man. I just want to help you out, Nathan. Come on.
You want to offer me 4 first-round picks?
Look, I'll offer you 3 conditional, okay? 2 next year, 2 the following year, all right? And a Big Mac with fries, man. Come on.
Well, you have to pay the rest of his. You have to pay the rest of his salary.
Hey, well, let's go into the boardroom. All right, let's talk about that. Yeah, no, but definitely, I agree with everything they were saying about the defenses, the kickers, potentially even the quarterback. Get rid of them, open up some spots so you have some room. But same time, you have a solid lineup.
Mine is now Derrick Henry.
Well, yeah, but
your receiving core is solid, like DK, Stephon, and Kupp. You're never gonna take them out. So I would just stack up on running backs and wait until you find that guy.
So I put him to the bench.
Who?
DK Metcalf is they're on the bye week. Seattle.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely.
Yeah. San Francisco, I can drop them because, like Sid said earlier, they're trash.
No, they're not getting it done, and the schedule is not going to permit them to be that great. But then watch them have a great game this week, and we're all like, "Well, sorry about that."
Sunday, man.
Wow, yeah, you're right, Dave. You're right. Any given Sunday. Good gracious.
Now, what about my last question is, okay, so like at the end of the fantasy football, like how do you guys how do you evaluate? Like, do you guys go like, okay, this is what I need to do for next year? Like, how do you approach next season?
For me, it's trial and error. That's also one of the reasons why you have multiple leagues. I know the first year I did just one like everybody else. And the biggest thing I found, and something you guys all can relate to, is that, you love football. When you have it this time of the year, you're like, oh, I just want to get as much. And you have the one draft, and that draft is so exciting. And then you're like, oh, it's a letdown. I kind of want, you know what I mean? Like, I remember one year, like I'm like you, Sid, where I got 6 leagues. But I remember one year I was doing mock drafts like every other day, just like I had one mock draft after another. And I'm just like, oh, man, I wish I could keep this one. I wish I could, It's a lot of trial and error, Nathan, and it's a lot of, kind of seeing. And then at the end of the day, look, some of this stuff you can't really tell. I mean, I remember one year I got Dalvin Cook, and I had like AP when he was at his prime, and I had somebody else. And after the first week, both of them got knocked out for the season. And then what do you do? You know what I mean? So, I mean, it shows your knowledge. It gives light to shows like us that, kind of help you out with that type of stuff. But it's a lot of trial and error. I mean, what do you guys think?
I'll tell you, we talked about this earlier this year. This was the first year that I really jumped into the mock drafts, and I don't know if I will again. It's one or two just to get a feel for going through the draft and who you're looking for. But I'll tell you what, man, by the third round of the Jerry World Draft, the entire thing was out the window. Because you just never know who the people in your league are going to take. Exactly. But really, to prepare for the next season, exactly what you see us doing every week right here. Pouring over lists,
point looking at numbers, absorbing as much information as you can, doing your homework. It's time consuming, but like favorite time of the year. I love it. I'm not scared to admit to you guys, for the last 6 weeks, I have not been asleep before like 5:30 a.m.
It's my addiction.
The night before this show,
That's my addiction. That's funny.
I love it. I love it. I can sit out here for hours just looking over numbers. But at the end of the day, Sean nailed it. We're all just guessing. We're all guessing. You can make an educated guess.
Yeah.
But hey, look at me. I got the number 1 pick in Let's Talk Football draft, which means that here in week 8, I just took my 3rd loss. I was doing really well with the 24th pick in the draft because I had Christian McCaffrey for 1 week.
Yeah.
So I have essentially been running with the 24th pick in the draft, and I've been doing okay.
Yeah.
It's all just guessing, man, and do your homework. Put in the time, and I promise you that the time will it will work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, my advice going forward. I know David doesn't like it because it's his first year, and it throws you off early on in the draft. But mock drafts, this is David's first year, so he hasn't learned yet. Once you learn how to mock draft and the point of mock drafts isn't to like pick a good team based off of that mock draft. It's to see where players are going.
The trends
in a range. Now, in the top of the draft, that's always going to change because people that don't pay attention to fantasy are going to be like, even though Patrick Mahomes is about a 3rd-round quarterback, I know Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking him with my first pick. Like that. So that throws up the beginning of the draft. But what it does, mock drafting, is it tells you that Matthew Stafford's going between 8th and 12th round. So I can wait on a quarterback because I know Matthew Stafford's going to be there way down the road. It tells you that there's 4 good tight ends, and I can get Rob Gronkowski in the 12th round. So I don't need to draft a tight end. That's what I drafted Gronk in 4 leagues. I mean, granted, he's been hurt, but when he was healthy, obviously he was balling out. So doing the mocks just tells you what you can do later on. So what I do in mocks is I'm like, all right, I'm going to take 2 running backs and see what my team looks like by the end of this. Yeah. Or I'm going to take 2 receivers to start and see what I get by the end of this. And generally how it happens is you take 2 receivers and you end up with Michael Carter as your starting running back. So I always go against that trait, but that's the point of mock drafts to me, is to figure out this is how I knew receivers were so deep. Robert Woods was going in the 6th round, 7th round. Yeah. You could get T. Higgins, Marquise Brown in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round. Michael Pittman Jr. in the 12th, 13th, 14th round. So the point of mock drafts to me is to figure out what guys you can get late that are available that you really like. Cooper Kupp in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. Like, he wasn't one of the top guys.
Right.
But that's the point of mock drafts, I think. And doing mock drafts, I think, is the best advice I can give you. Do mock drafts, a lot of mock drafts.
And hey, look, at the end of the day, especially during the draft, run your race. You know what I mean? It's very easy. And I know with us, we had the draft, we had a live show and everybody's talking, everybody's saying their stuff. It's real easy to kind of get off your game and get into this and let me get this guy. Don't you run your race. You told me before, I had a pick, I had a list of guys. You go with your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, you get your little depth chart, you write it down, and you run your race, you do what you need to do, and you go from there. And Nathan, if all else fails, you do what I did. You make a show called Let's Talk Fantasy Football, and you get 2 gurus to talk about it, and you pick their brains, and you say, yeah, let's help everybody else out. Yes. What? Yes.
Well played, sir.
I like
well
that.
Played.
I like that.
Yo, we do have one more question. Shout out to Nick. This is a different Nick from YouTube. He says, 10-team league, full PPR. Should I trade Khalil Herbert and Justin Jefferson for Adam Thielen and Damian Harris?
I would take that trade. That's the second one I would take. Khalil Herbert is good now. He's a viable starter for sure.
Yep.
But once David Montgomery comes back, I think that job's his. So he's not going to be a long-term play as much. Damian Harris is a long-term play, and I think is currently better than Khalil Herbert. He's in a better offense, better offensive line. They're going to run him the ball at goal lines, and you think he's going to get it. I like him more than Herbert, and I think right now Thielen over Jefferson. I mean, Justin Jefferson's probably more talented, but Thielen's consistent.
Yep.
Thielen's going to get you 10 to 20 every single week, where Justin Jefferson will get you 30, but he'll also get you 8. So It's like, I'll take the consistency in both Thielen and Harris for the rest of the season over Khalil Herbert for the next couple of weeks and Justin Jefferson's inconsistency.
Yeah.
100%. I always preach I like consistency. I'll take a player who gets their points through yards and targets over a player who gets their production through touchdowns. Those are home run guys. I want solid, steady, dependable, and this is 2 home run hitters against 2 grinders.
Right.
So absolutely 100% behind that one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. As a person who has represented in one of his 6 leagues, has 3 of these guys represented. I have Jefferson, I have Thielen, and I picked up Herbert recently. Thielen is, like you guys said, it's consistent. Period. At the end. I mean, Jefferson. I think him like Justin Herbert. We kind of jump on him because of the accolades from a year ago. But Justin Jefferson he's not consistent. He'll give you a big game and then he'll lay 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points on you. And Thielen gets it done if he's healthy. He gets it done. And Damian Harris, you guys mentioned it earlier in the show. I think Damian Harris is somebody that you can potentially rely on because you know what Belichick does. Belichick seems to like him going forward. So yeah, I'm in agreement with that, man. Let's go. Yo, Nathan, I appreciate you, my man. I thank you for coming on, man. I hope we helped you. We answered your questions.
Appreciate